What's going on, guys? Plush Bros Revolution here. Welcome back to the Waluigi Washers podcast. It's just me today. The other guys are off doing stuff right now. Yesterday was the debut of the first, hopefully only, debate for the 2024 United States presidential election. Now, I don't know if all you guys here watch my channel or not, or if any of you guys are all American citizens or whatnot, but typically in my channel, I try to avoid doing videos talking about modern politics because it's just too much of a heated subject. I do presidential rankings. I do history videos over on my channel, but usually I tend to cap out at about the 1990s as talking about history and modern stuff. So today we're going to be making a Joe Biden bingo game. We're going to be playing Joe Biden bingo. So typically, politically, I support bipartisanship, but I do tend to lean slightly more conservative. You guys can believe whatever you want to believe, and I know it's a pretty heated subject, but you cannot deny that that was one of the most embarrassing debates we've ever seen, performance from an incumbent president. I have gone back in history and watched a bunch of presidential debates. The very first presidential debate was held in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. That debate was very mature, and they let each other talk and stuff like that. And after watching the 2020 debates last election, there was a lot of arguments happening. So they had the mics turned off, they had all this stuff happening, but Biden couldn't even defend his own points. It was pretty bad. Even if you know that your policies are trash, you should at least be able to defend them. All he resorted to is calling Trump a liar. So that is why the Biden space liar is the free space for this bingo sheet. So we're going to just play this bingo sheet. We're just going to watch the debate and see how fast it takes us to fill out this bingo sheet till we get bingo. So without further ado, let's go. All right, so as we can see here, we have the Joe Biden, Lion Biden, Crooked Joe Biden debate night bingo. Now, I didn't do this when I watched it. I just watched it one time, so I might not have caught all this. But looking at some of these, I can pretty much guarantee now that there's going to be some definites that are going to be on here that I can see. So we have, so anytime one of these comes up, the way bingo works, if you've never played bingo before, you just got to get this whole row done. So if we get this whole diagonal and whatnot, this is claimed to be a free space. Joe lies because he apparently lies all the time, so that's going to be a free space, but I'm not going to make that a free space. I'm going to wait until he throws out a lie, which will probably be very early on. So, can we go through this whole debate without filling it out? We'll have to see. We're going to go through all of the things here just to see what we have going on. So, we have Scranton Joe, which I assume means some sort of mention to Scranton. That one I'm not too certain on what exactly that's supposed to be meaning, but if there's any Scranton reference or even a Pennsylvania reference, we'll go with it. Brain freezes, that's almost a definite. So, basically, he just blacks out at any point. There you go. Whispers into the mic, shouts into the mic. I can guarantee he probably did that at some point. Saved by fake Tapper. So, Tapper's one of the moderators of CNN moderators. So, if Tapper saves Biden at any point, there you go. And then down here we have saved by fake Tapper again. So if he does it once, we get this one. If he does it twice, we get both. Touches nose. If Joe touches his nose at any point, there we go. We got a slot for that. Holds lectern for dear life. Basically, when he goes up to the podium, if at any point while he's talking or whenever he's standing up there, if he's holding onto the podium with both hands, that's what that meaning. If it looks like he's going to hold on for dear life, there you go. If anything like this comes out of his mouth, there you go. Uncle Bozy mention. I'm not sure if that one came up, but we'll see. Shuffles. Right. So what this shuffling means, I'm not sure if it means when he's walking in he's shuffling, or if he's shuffling meaning he's talking evasively to avoid a topic. So like if they give him a topic, he's avoiding it. There's a shuffle. Can't find his way off stage. I don't know if he's going to be leaving the stage. So that might be a dead space. Forgets where he is. Now that one's going to be up for my own interpretation, what I think about that, because we can't really know. He's not going to say, where am I? But if it comes into his mind that he doesn't know where he is, there you go. Joe lies. Free space, okay. Corn pop mention. So if there's any mention about corn pop, not sure if that came up, we'll see. Heavy slurring, I can almost guarantee that was in there. Non-stop cough. Hunter is the smartest guy I know. I'm actually going to kind of shift this space off to any Hunter reference that is positive from Biden, because even if it's not that exact wording, Hunter is probably going to come up, and he's going to talk good about him, despite all of the current convictions and things like that going on with Hunter Biden. Soils himself. Yeah, I don't know if that one's going to be happening, but we'll find out. Claims to drive an 18-wheeler. Okay. I don't know if Biden's very infamous for that. Okay. Some of these just... Yeah. Blames Trump. Okay. Well, I can tell you, I just remember right off the bat in the very first segment about the economy, he blames his entire economy off of Trump's dealing with COVID. So we'll see how that goes. Saved by Tapper, again, like I already said. His drugs wear off. So Biden's like 81 years old. There's a good chance that this guy's been hyped up on a bunch of drugs like cocaine and things like that people speculate about. So if his drugs start to wear off at any point, there's your free space, or there's that space for that. That's also going to be up for interpretation. Cheap fake. So this cheap fake essentially saying, yeah, so a cheap fake is them referencing a video commercial type of media that has been misinterpreted. So if Biden misinterpretates some media or any policy, if he misinterpretates anything, we're just going to mark that one off there. Takes credit for the Trump economy, and he falls down. All right, so that is the bingo list. We're going to fire up the debate and see how this goes. We're going to see how far we last. This might last 5 seconds. This might last the whole time. Who knows? All right, Atlanta.
Stayed in the race for the White House. In just moments, the current U.S. president will debate the former U.S. president.
That's right.
As their party's presumptive nominees, a first in American history. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to our studios in Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
This debate is being produced by CNN and is coming to you live on CNN, CNN International, CNN.com,
Clinton News Network,
and CNN Espanol. This is a pivotal moment between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump in their rematch for the nation's highest office.
Yes, it is.
He will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash.
So here's Tapper. This is Tapper right here.
And co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules.
So Joe has not showed up yet.
Former President
We're going to get into when Biden comes on stage.
determines their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question. And
The debate, each candidate
They still figure out how to do that, though.
for closing statements. There is no
Don't you think?
Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted.
All right, let's get on to this. Let's get Biden in here. There he is. All right, here he is, guys. Is he going to fall? All right. All right. Who's Biden?
And please welcome the 40.
All right, I can already tell you. Did you guys catch it? Right as he got onto the podium. He's holding on to both sides. Go ahead and mark the first bingo sheet. Where's it at? Holds lectern for dear life right there. Already happened. Alright, we got our first bingo on the board right now. Let's see what's going on now. Let's continue this. Please hold on to the lectern.
Please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, he's here. He's about to wipe the floor right now.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy.
All right, so we got the economy first, and I believe Biden's going to win this coin toss, so he's going to probably start blaming Trump and throwing out some laughs. So we can probably mark off a bunch of bingo shades with this.
Inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your president?
Economy is easily the biggest issue for this election, and a lot of people are looking to see, like the quote that Ronald Reagan said in the 1980 debate, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And that's what a lot of voters are going to be basing their choice off of.
You got to take a look at what I was left under being president. Mr. Trump government. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach and we're on.
So he's already blamed Trump for something.
The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. And it's terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. That's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs, and we brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. There's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from house.
Scranton? All right, we got a Scranton reference.
Where the kitchen table thing, things weren't able to be met during the month was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that it reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million more units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination that was left with the corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem.
All right, so he's blaming Trump, his bad dealings in COVID. He's blaming that on the bad economy, which he had 4 years to fix that he didn't fix.
Can't take over. The combination that was left with the corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem. In addition to that, in a situation where if you have to take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We made sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which was a major issue for many people. To $15 for an insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can afford beginning next year. We're in a situation where we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Okay. Let's watch that again and fill it out as we go. Because I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna do what I think I heard. I can confirm there was a Scranton reference. There was a blaming Trump reference. He didn't so much take credit for the economy because he was kind of bashing it, how bad it was. So Biden's aware of how bad the economy is, at least that. Because there's some people out there that still think it's good. It's 6% inflation the last 2 years. Inflation didn't really start until about a year after he became president, but this is more of just the stability of the economy in general. And he's pointing at corporate leaders and things like that. So let's see what else we got going on in here. I can't remember if he touched his nose or not. I think we had a cough in there. All right, so there we go. There's that. I think that's about it.
Rate rose to 15%, and it's terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we did. 15,000 new jobs, and we brought out a position where we had
That says non-stop cough, so I think we'll let that slide.
have 800,000 for manufacturing jobs.
We're going to make that 3 coughs in a row counts.
There's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
There's a Scranton.
Where the kitchen table, things weren't able to be met during the month was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination of what's left of the corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Things were in chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we have a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people. To $15 for an insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can beginning next year. In a situation where we're going to make that available to everybody, all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price of the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We did had a name block.
We're
created for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs that bounce back from the COVID. He has not.
We don't care as much about Trump's part here. We're just bingo shit out for Biden.
Absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that. He's probably anybody else that thinks that we're the greatest economy in the world. And,
He doesn't know anyone else that thinks that.
the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he vertical welfare. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president I've ever heard of who has lost more job than he had in the year since early here. The idea that he did something that was significant in the military. When he was president, we were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything like that.
Okay, there you go.
As president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that
It's a hot take, bud.
we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can. You want
allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
Tariff.
It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. Leadership, because probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend the fact that they...
For example, back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country start using the liquid gold. Everybody else has situation. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out, he did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation. And it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country.
It's true. Biden, when he got into office, he just reversed all the stuff Trump did just for the fact that he was his political opponent, not that Biden actually supported the policies. That's why he can't even defend them.
And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
And why did he allow that?
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president for a period.
Let's check that out. That is actually true.
Number two, he got $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the taxes. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires. I mean, billionaires.
1,000 trillion, 1,000 trillionaires.
And what's happening? We're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those levels, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for whatever. We've been able to do the COVID, dealing with.
All right, here we go. Try to see if any more of these are on there. Okay. Let's head on back to it. We're filling this thing up. Okay, we got the diagonal looking pretty good so far. Oh, I forgot to fill up the free space. I actually haven't caught a legit lie yet, so I'm going to keep that open.
Everything we have to do.
I'm going to wait for something really lively. Because I know he's going to whip it out.
We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Trump.
All right, there we go. Tapper's coming in, save him. Look, if we finally beat Medicare. All right, there we go. Tapper saved him there. There it is. Ooh, that was rough for Biden. That wasn't. Ooh, that was bad.
He was right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on destroying Medicare.
We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Trump.
He was right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. They cannot. Very stupid people. Done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President.
Yeah, that's a big send-off for most voters, too, the Social Security issue. Trump's bringing out a good point there.
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case that states restricted overturned Roe v. Wade. The federal government has...
A complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states, a little bit more different, the states' convictions. You have to follow your test, and you have to get elected all parties there, and even at the end of the day, together. It's a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden.
It's been a terrible thing. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they were all against it was just ridiculous. And this is a guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know if you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have you, and have him decide on what your circumstances are when you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, that each state had a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including the young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. And the idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in to talk about that. Here's the deal.
Yeah, I'd call that a shuffle. That was a crazy story that didn't need to be there. He threw that in there.
There's a lot of young women
He didn't even capitalize on his point. He just said, "There's a funeral he went to. That was it."
talk about that. Here's the deal. There's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous. And they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them across state line.
Thank you.
That wasn't Tapper though. I can't name that.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. He's bringing it back and that way.
Let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between a woman and a doctor. Second time is between a doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, the farmers want the politicians to be the ones making decisions about a woman's health is ridiculous. It's a last. No politician is making that decision. A doctor should be making that decision. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, as we wants that to happen. Democrat,
But Roe v.
nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true.
Democrat or Republican, nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. That Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only women's.
Took us this long to actually fill up the free space. All right, we're only 2 slots away on these rows here to get the bingo. Okay.
Whose life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
There's a lot of people in the country that are for the states' rights when it comes to Roe v. Wade, and him saying that that's a lie is just not right.
You have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want to.
Abortion is one of the most split issues in the U.S.
In the state, you can do
in the last couple of years.
Whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the
Yeah.
Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51
Not the radical Republicans.
years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go.
Well, times change, sir.
51 years, and it was taken away because this guy, who's very conservative members on the Supreme Court, takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress?
I gotta see if he's touching his nose. I'm not paying attention for that.
What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period?
I'm looking at the list here on my phone.
6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
That's not the issue of immigration and border.
You look at this guy. Look at Trump over here.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border.
Yeah, border crisis, another huge thing. There's been so much
border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some
havoc
cases,
going on the border.
Safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
This one, he's got a bad. He doesn't have much to go off of for this one. He can't defend this one bit.
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, but made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they can come across the border with the number of border police right now. We significantly increased the number of asylums. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed.
What was the question?
Where they made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance. Because we.
Given that, why should in Chicago, and in some cases, causing real safety and security concerns?
Safety and security
concerns. In a situation where you had no circumstance where they can come across the border with the number of border police right now. We significantly increased the number of asylums. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated.
40%.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative.
Whoa.
To what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylums.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
We're going to do more border patrol and more asylums.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. Terror, but not just it. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation, because I didn't have legislation. I said close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who was great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Random, just speak to him. But
President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything across the border is one who came along and killed three, and his administration killed Al-Qaeda person coming in his administration.
Whoa.
Killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorists ever got through. The idea they're emptying the prisons, we're welcoming people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those?
When they keep voters anymore, every state, California, and because they're I call it.
This guy needs to touch his nose.
They're killing our citizens. Girls, all type of few taking place. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. Literally, an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City.
Look at that face. I think it's safe to assume by this point. Mark that one off. We're getting down to it, guys. We're getting down to it. I think we're going to hit bingo.
Places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody but worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice, that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half, because he's done all these great things that we did, and I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Killed so many people at
just
our border
in spite of political opponents.
And it's a very sad day.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one.
I was going to say that was a tapper say, but now.
There's a hell of a lot better off since they got past the back end.
Yeah.
Now about the insurance and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened,
Right.
whether it was Agent Orange or Burnquist, they're all being covered now. And he opposes, the group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next door in those Burnquist, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day. And I spoke all about those heroes that died.
Oh, that's
I went to
pretty
the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery, refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son is not a loser, he's not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
All right. We'll give that as good Hunter references there. Give that there. Okay. We only need this one. We just need his drugs to wear off, and we got bingo. All right.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines.
Third Reich magazine.
We put it in commercials. We've notified them. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who others say intelligence ate the same information? He made up
John and your side was on your staff. Said you
to be right now.
Every time he starts, you're
Four-star
like,
General stand your side was on your staff. Said you said it. Period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything, wrong. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And then now their families. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing.
and leave equipment in Afghanistan, billions of dollars of equipment.
That's what the VA is doing now. We're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Topic of foreign policy.
All right, here we got foreign policy.
Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year.
Here we go.
President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only Putin's terms acceptable to you.
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him.
If that's what you call him.
They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them.
All right, he's not wrong. I know a lot of veterans. Not on the Biden train, I'll tell you
And
that.
that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine.
Exactly. These foreign countries like Russia in the Israel invasion, they all waited till the U.S. was weak and vulnerable so they could just go in and try to take the countries without us really doing much about that. And Trump would have never let that happen. And right as Biden got in office, less than a year, just about a year later, Putin's already into Ukraine.
A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible, embarrassing, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
It's factual.
But when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence that he should
That was the key right there. September 2021, August 2021.
should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general.
Oh, he's
got
going in with
fired
that.
For the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know,
It's true.
never in years anybody or anything. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden.
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. But in fact, we're in a situation.
That's what he's going with.
Last point first. Iran attacked American troops, killed and caused brain damage for a number of those troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. Here they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. And he didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan doing that work. Number three,
He's not very no
touchy
touchy today.
situation where if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. Listen to what he said when he went in. We're going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? It was part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to do, establish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done and they've lost thousands.
Sounds like a Russia problem.
Troops, 500,000 troops.
There you go.
President Trump.
It was saved. I'll take that. Alright, boom. We're one away. That was his second save. Probably third. I was being a little more hesitant on the last one. But we're one away here, and we're one away here. We need him to either his drugs wear off or an Uncle Bozy mention, which I don't think that happened. Could be wrong, though. I missed the Scranton reference at the beginning the first time I watched
For
this.
1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms...
But he's just not... His policy is just terrible. He just doesn't do anything. He's like James Buchanan. James Buchanan's infamous for just sitting there letting the Civil War unfold. Biden's pretty much just sitting there letting the country and the world just destroy itself.
acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started.
No.
We had a leader in this war.
It's been at us... And the Ukrainian war has been at a stalemate pretty much for the last 2 years. It hasn't really gone anywhere.
He's given $200 billion.
But people are still dying, and they won't really release the numbers. You're never really going to know how much actually died from these types of things because the media just won't release it. And Putin has the entire Russian country, the entire country of Russia in the hiding from all this stuff. They don't really know what's going on. And that's kind of how it's been for the last 2 years, and that's just how it is in communist nations.
Now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion, saying, Zelensky...
Just waiting for a nose touch. I can't really...
I'll have that war settled. I'll have that war settled. And
Yeah, he's forgetting where he's at.
Thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire. Not just a piece, he wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think...
That's what he wants, but I don't think he's going to get it because he's probably going to die before he gets it.
You think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine, the weapons we make here in the United States, we give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. 5. Post the remaining hostages of this conflict. But so far,
You've fallen asleep over here.
Not released the remaining hostages.
Here's his opinion on the Israel invasion.
Its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council, straight through the G7, to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself, have endorsed the plan before. It's just 3 stages to it. The first stage is treating the hostages for a ceasefire. The second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war.
Know the end of the war, yeah.
You're still pushing them.
How many number ones we got here, man?
To get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We found that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We provide Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest.
Saved Israel.
And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot allow it to continue. We continue to send our experts, and I'm telling people how we...
The difference between this, it should not be allowed to continue. If the U.S. was powerful enough, it would have never happened at all.
We get Hamas like we did Bin Laden. We don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened Hamas. Greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for what using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. the European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen.
It's a wimpy guy.
As far as
Our alliances is what pull out of NATO. This is the guy who wants to get out of NATO. You going to stay in NATO? You're going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. There may be a big ocean. Have you ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you continue to go in?
Avoid a major war in Europe as you send troops to Ukraine, getting the most... We're the most country involved into that besides them, and you want to avoid war in Europe.
NATO. We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine, and then move on to Poland and other places. It's just what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea.
I was tempted to put a cheat fake for that Article 5 reference, but I'm going to let that slide.
Understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to contain just two.
President Trump, just to follow up,
Yeah. Okay.
would you
The 100 Years' War was.
support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trip. They're about the same size economically with the European nations. Because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. Their food, their everything. Hey, you got them to go. I'm not at that time. Millions of dollars. We're paying.
I want to ask you about this 20 top the constant quote preserve.
Next, we had a great border. January's econ happened.
To this.
What do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and action on January?
I'd be responsible for the of these. Everybody was saying
January 6th should not be in here. Just saying, that's freaking old news.
I sat with down in the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, he talked about the people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that, he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what he's done. He didn't do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And he should be being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says that he really is again such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President.
I did hear some bads. I did hear a slur in there, Biden, so I'll let that one go. So now we're down to this whole row hasn't had anything yet. I didn't hear him take credit for Trump's economy. I heard him bashing him on it, but he didn't take credit for it. So he at least doesn't like that. We need him to fall down or his drugs to wear off and we win.
President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down, it's fully patriotic. One other thing, Republicans destroy. You were right. Republicans.
I'm not sure if he's touched his nose. I'm just skipping it, but I don't want to watch this entire thing here.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man. And the fact of the matter is, he's telling you simply not true.
They get him on that one.
The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody just when they broke down doors, broke the windows. They did. Every one of those who were convicted, down doors, turning over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him those first two debates we had, the first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Board? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that copy? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. Your opponent is to go after your political opponents.
Well, I said my retribution, my reputation, jump the death bill. Let's quit to change your luck.
Well, you want to...
Really?
No, what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against anyone just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with. And think of all the civil penalties here. How many millions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of
This
things,
part's weird.
of having sex with a porn star, when your wife was pregnant? What are you talking about? You're the morals on that?
You're not, sir?
I didn't have sex with a porn star. Horrible.
Good God.
His political opponent standing in the last campaign
He reversed all of Trump's policies because of the sole factor that he's his political opponent, not because he actually thinks, not because he actually hates the policy.
Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Are determined to destroy American democracy.
He's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. Full range of the problem. And so the fact that could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run the first place after my son died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People do the same thing.
This part.
What do you think of the fine people?
Excuse.
Fields carrying torches. The people. This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. Good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of what.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exonerated. And that was full of it.
He thought,
So we're going to resolve to
all this being fabricated. We saw it with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the window. We saw people occupying it. His own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused in person this time. His vice president had in person this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
All right. So, this factor right here, and it doesn't seem like much, but the fact that they're doing a commercial break in a presidential debate, keep in mind, out of all these debates that I've watched over the histories of the United States, there has almost never been, or I can't remember there ever being a commercial break. Which means that his drugs are probably wearing off. So, we got ourselves a bingo right there, guys. I might be able to, put in the cheap fake in there for Article 5, but I think he executed himself decently well with that claim. So, with all that said and done, be sure to subscribe to the Waluigi Washers podcast, as well as Plush Bros Revolution. And the other two guys, Kingy B and that one guy, Skits, even though they're not here. And that was fun, guys. Let me know what you guys think. And hopefully there's no more presidential debates, because there's actually talk of now that maybe not even including Joe Biden as or Democratic nominee. I don't think that's going to happen because of the fact that that is very rare for a incumbent president to not win renomination. I think the last time that happened was in 1884 with Chester Arthur. So he's going to be the nominee, but if he doesn't step up his game, man, his approval rating is going to go down, and it's already pretty far down. I'm excited to see the outcome of this election. So if you guys want to see any more videos talking about the election on this channel, let me know. As with my other channel, I don't really talk about this stuff too much in depth. Although I might make some videos about it. Who knows? We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.